Hello there and welcome to another video from Change Tips and Tools. And this is part 4 and the final video on this how-to series where I've shown you how to create a bingo game in Excel 365. Now I've put a link to the playlist in the description so you can watch the previous videos in this series. You can find a link to the support file for this video also within the description based on where we left off in part 3. And remember, I have built an 8 bingo strip version with full instructions that can be found on the Change Tips and Tools Patreon. Now, before we move on to creating our bingo caller numbers and also writing some Visual Basic together, Nick, Ivan's son, sent me an email when he noticed in part 3 a problem with how the numbers are sorted in our 3x9 UK bingo tickets. So, and what Nick's talking about, so if you take this ticket here for as an example, you can see here we've got so you got 40, 47, 48, so these are in order. You got 45, but then if you take this ticket, the way that it's sorted it, you've got 44 and 42, so they're not numerically ordered in that column in this ticket. Same here, you got 36, 34, and it should be, reading Nick's email, 34 and 36. So let's fix that, shall we? So I'm going to go back to my ticket numbers tab here. So we've got it generating the patterns, we've got it generating the random numbers and then putting those numbers based on the pattern that we've got and generated. But now we need to sort these so they're in numeric order in the 3x9 ticket, in each ticket. So let me just take this column here as a reference. I'm going to do Control Copy. Let me move this over slightly. So I'm going to paste the headings there just so I've got a visual reference, and let's do it there for each ticket strip. Right, so the answer is oh, I must have gone crazy there. Let's do escape, just get rid of that, don't need that there. Right, so I've got the column numbers all the way down. What happened there? Control Copy, going too quick for the machine. Control V. Right, now I've got my headings for each ticket. So ticket 1, 4, 3, 2 and 1. So the answer here is there's a function called large. So if we take if I do equals large and the argument is the array, so we take this first set of cells in the first column, so that's my array. And then in the large, I can say I want the first largest number, the second largest number, and the third, and so on. So if I put the largest number there and close the bracket on large and hit return, it's returning the 2 because that's the largest number. So also I want to be able to do that same principle. So if I do F2 to go into edit mode, so I want to do that in reverse. So first of all, I want the second largest number, if there's a number there, and then I want the first largest number. So it's sorting it in an order, a numeric order, like so here. Well, the answer is combining the large function, the count function. So with the count function, what I'm going to do first of all is going from the bottom upwards. So if you remember with the sum function over here, when I was adding this up to get the row reference, yeah, is I was locking down the first row. So to get the count to go to 1 and 2 in reverse order, I just need to start the count from the bottom. Let me show you what I mean. So if I do equals count, I'm then going to take this cell here, I'm going to do colon, and then over here, just click on this one here, I'm going to do F4, I'm going to do F4 again, so I'm only locking the row. And then just close that bracket and hit return. And then if I do that and I move it across, in fact, let's just do that and do F9. So what you can see, it's counting 1 there for that row. So it's got a number there. It's still 1 when it gets to the middle, and then it's got 8. So if I then wrap that in an if statement, so let's do if that cell there does not equal a blank, then do the count. Otherwise, leave it blank. Let's copy that up again, see what happens. And do F9. Right. So what you can see now, it's counted the 1, and then it's counted 2 numbers when it gets to the 2 there. Yeah. So what it's doing is this range here is doing, it's just counting V26 to V26. When it gets to this cell here, it's counting V26 to V25. So I've just changed the way that it's calculating it in reverse order. So if I then wrap that in the large function, so if I use that count as my reference, my K reference, so I go large, open bracket, so my array is going to be these cells here, and I'm going to do function 4 to make them absolute, to the comma. So now the count becomes my K reference, so I then close the bracket around just after the count bracket and close the large function like so and hit return. And I then drag that up and let's drag it across as well and do F9. Oh, something's gone wrong there, so let's try that again. So we got F5 there, so let me do that, do F9, and we're going to do control copy, do control V and do F9. Right, so it's going wrong. So what have I done here? That's why I've made the column reference here, I've made that absolute, so it's staying with that one. So we need to fix that. So again there, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to do F4 again, so it just makes the row to row absolute, but I want the column to move, and I'm going to hit return. Now let's just copy that up, do F9, so that's working. One, yeah, let's drag that across now and do F9 again, boom, and now we have it fixed. So there, column 1 now, we've got, instead of 9 2, we've got 2 9, we've got just the 14, then we've got 29 26, so that's now reordered at 26 29, and then 39 34 is now 34 and 39, and so on. So that now works. Now obviously that's going to be a bit of a pain to copy down to all these other cells to replicate it. However, now that we've got this pattern for each of these, all I've got to do is copy this as a block to each cell and just replicate that pattern of that formula. And then it will, so all I've got to do then is remove the dollar signs now because I don't need them there. So I'm going to do control, find, and then here I'm just going to do the dollar sign. So I'm going to find the dollar sign, I'm going to replace it with nothing, or I'm going to delete it. I'm going to do replace all, Spain 81, and click OK and close. And now all of these cells have remembered what the formula, so from 26 to 24 and so on. Yeah, all I've got to do now is copy this, do control copy, and then paste it to the rest of the tickets and the ticket strips. So let me just do that. So I'm going to do control V, Control V, and then we'll just do a little test just to show you. If I do F9, and there you go. It's picking them all up accordingly. It's sorting them. Brilliant. So all I'm going to do now is just copy the rest. Do Control copy there and just copy it to the rest. So let me just do that. And there you go, done. If I press F9, they're all calculating appropriately. Job done. So I've now got my sorted cells here. So I'm just going to do sorted there, so I know what that is. And then I need to repoint the tickets to these new cells here, don't I? So let me do bingo tickets. Let's take the first one. I'm going to do equals, get to my ticket numbers, over onto the sorted, point it to that first cell and hit return. Then I'm going to take that, drag it down, do the drop down, fill without formatting. I'm then going to do Control C to copy those three cells, highlight these, do Control Alt and V to bring up the Pay Special dialog box and say Formulas Only, and click OK. If I do F9, it's done. So now if I just copy this, do Control Copy and paste it to the tickets in here. Do F9 to recalculate that. So these are now all working. Let's do the same for this ticket. So it's going to be V50, so row 50. So I'm going to do equals, go to my ticket numbers, scroll down. There's sorted version AF50. Return, copy that down. By dragging it down and do the drop down, fill without formatting, and do Control C to copy those three cells, highlight the rest, do Control Alt V to bring up the special paste, do Formulas Only, do F9, and there we go. Now we just copy this down. Here we go, just Control V to paste it in. Then hit F9 again to recalculate. Wonderful. So let me do the other two tickets. And there you go. All the tickets done. And now in that 3x9 ticket, all columns are sorted numerically as well, whilst maintaining the patterns. So done. Next, we need to look at how we do the bingo calling. So the first thing is on the bingo call support, we've got all these, all the numbers 1 to 9, so with the various different bingo phrases. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select anywhere in the data there, do Control T to make it a table, and yes, it has headers. I'm going to give on the table design ribbon, I'm going to give it a meaningful name. In the table name, I'm going to do TBL bingo calls, like so, and hit return. So that's my table name. I'm then going to go to the bingo call tabs. This is where the bingo call is going to work from, and this is where we'll refresh the numbers and the tickets. So first of all, I'm going to copy the header from the bingo ticket. So let's take this, do Control Copy, go to the bingo call tab, select the first row and do Control V. So let me just move this over to column C. and then I'm going to change it to, so get rid of print your tickets and replace that with numbers. There we go, that's better. Now, so what we want is, I want the actual the number, so the call. So what's the call number? So I'm going to do a hash there for number, and then I want the actual number we're going to call out. Oh, still got the caps lock on. I then want the actual phrase, the bingo phrase. I want some type of indicator, a tick box to say that it's been called. And then I want the comments, so you can capture where the first line, the second line, and the house has been captured and where. So on this, I'm going to do equals sequence, and we want 90 rows for the 90 numbers. So there they are. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to make that. So on the home ribbon, I'm going to use this style, and I'm going to make it 16, like so. I'm then going to take these, so from here to let's say comments, I'm going to do control, so shift control and the down arrow, and again I'm just going to make those all 16. Yeah, there you go. So let's just make that a little bit bigger. So the number, let's make the phrase a little bit bigger. Actually, the call can stay the same, and then the comments, let's make the phrase to about there, and then let's take the comments and let's drag it right to about there, I think, so you can write your comments. Now this part here is going to be simple. We're just going to use the sort by again. So I'm going to do equals sort by. The array I'm going to sort are the 90 numbers here. So I'm going to do A4 hash. And then my array is, I'm going to use the RANDARRAY again. But this time I'm just going to do 90 rows like so. And then I'm going to close the bracket on the sort by and do return. So now I've got my random numbers sorted here. So I now want the phrases from these numbers, and I'm just going to do a VLOOKUP. So I'm going to do equals VLOOKUP. My value is going to be the number, and I'm going to do hash to include the whole spill range. My table array is going to be the table bingo calls. This, select that. And the column index, so the first is the number and the second is the phrase, so it's going to be column number 2. And then I want an exact match, i.e. false. And let's close the bracket on the VLOOKUP. And there you go. I've now got all my phrases. Now, as far as the call is concerned, so this is where having the exact same build or the latest updates, and make sure your latest updates are on your Office 365. Now this tick box functionality, the way that I'm going to do it, won't be available if you're doing it on a work copy of Excel, because typically those things won't be available yet on your Office builds. But at home, on your personal copies where you control the updates, if I do insert ribbon, you'll see this checkbox functionality, which is new functionality. I think it's come out in the last 2 months. It's been made available to everybody on Office 365 Excel. So I'm going to select that, and now I'll go tick box. I can then just shift control down, all the way down here, right? All the way down to 90. Yeah, and do Control D to copy down. I've now got the tick boxes all copied down. Wonderful. Next thing I want to do is I want some shading. So this is not a table, so I'm going to have to manually put the shading in, but here's a quick way. So again, I'm just going to highlight that first row, do Shift Control down to the bottom. I'm then going to go to Home, Conditional Formatting. I'm going to do a new rule, which is going to be use a formula to determine which cells to format. And I'm going to use the mod function. Now the mod function takes a value and then it divides it by a divider, and then it returns the remainder of that division. So if you divide 3 by 2, then it goes in once with a remainder of 1, so it returns 1. If it's 7, it will, and you divide it by 2, then it'll return a 2, as in the answer's 2, but with a remainder of 1, and it'll return that 1. So that's what we're going to use the mod function. So I'm going to go equals if mod, open bracket, and the number I'm going to use is the row number. So I'm going to do row, open and close bracket, and then my divider is going to be 2. Yeah. So odd rows will return a 1, and even rows will return a 0. Yeah. If I close the bracket on the mod and I go equals 1, yeah, I for odd rows, then return true. If it's even, then return a false. Close that bracket. And where it's true, on the formatting, I'm just going to go onto the fill and do this light grey, the lightest hint of grey there, and do OK. And then do OK again. And now you can see I've got my, every other row is now shaded. So if I go to my view and take off the grid lines, there we go. So we've now got our numbers here. And we've got our tick boxes, and we can tick it and so on. However, we don't want these to be visible straight away. We want the row to become visible when you tick the tick box. Yeah. So let's do that. So I'm going to take this row here all the way down to, so that's row, from row, so 4 onwards, and the last row is going to be row 93. So let's highlight all those. I'm going to right click and do hide. So I'm hiding all the rows from 5 to 93, and when I tick this, so I've called it, I want the next number to become visible for the caller. So this is where we're going to go into some Visual Basic. Yeah. So I'm going to right click on the bingo call tab, or I can right click on any of these tabs here. In fact, I'm going to right click on it and do view code. Now I'm going to double click on the bingo call here, and then over here under general, I'm going to do the drop down, select worksheet. Now it defaults to this selection change procedure. I'm going to take the change. So when I change something, I want it to run this code that we're going to write together. So I'm going to get rid of that selection change. Right. So the first thing that I need to do is I need something to capture my row number, the row calculation, because when they tick the box, so when they tick this box, the next row needs to become visible. So I need to understand what's the row number here, add 1, so I get the next row number, and then make that one visible upon ticking this. Yeah, and as long as it's true. Yeah. So if I then go back to my Visual Basic here, so I'm going to do, so let's declare my variable. So I'm going to declare my variable. So apostrophe there, just to tell Visual Basic I'm writing a comment. So I'm going to dim, so my row as integer. So that's my variable there, my row. That's where I'm going to capture the row number, right? Then what I want to do is turn off the screen updating. So when it's doing these things and selecting rows, I don't want it to be visible. I just want it to appear instantaneous to the user. So I'm just going to do application, spell it right, application dot, and then do S for screen updating equals false. So we stop the screen refreshing and updating. The next thing I then want to do is I want to know if the column is column 4. So if we go to our Excel again, we've got column 1, column 2, column 3, and then column 4, which is D, which is where our tick boxes will be. So that's what I want to be checking. I also want to make sure it's less than 93 to do this, and on 93, row 93, which is the last number to be called, I don't want it to be making any row visible, just to move to the comments box. So that's what I want to be able to handle in this code. So if I go to Visual Basic again, so I'm going to say, right, if target, so when it changes, the target is the range, the current active cell where I'm making the change. So if the target dot column equals 4, then I want to do something, and I'm going to hit return. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do an end if there, just to make sure I've got that. So that's the end statement for this particular if statement. So if it is column 4, I also want to check, is the row less than 93? So I'm going to add an and. So and target dot row is less than 93. There we go. So if the column is 4 and the target row is less than 93, then I want it to do this. Yeah. So I'm then going to do a tab. So I now need to check, is it false? Has the tick box been ticked? And if it has, it will return a true in that cell. If it's unticked, it will be false. So again, if target dot value equals true, then I want to do this. Yeah, so in other words, make the next row visible. So again, I'm going to do end if. Yeah. Right. So this is what I'm going to do. So I need to make the row visible. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to go my row, or the variable that we declared, equals target dot row plus 1. So I'm signing fundamentally what will be the next row, the row that I want to make visible. Then all I'm going to do is say active sheet range, which is going to be, so in quotation marks, double quotation marks, is going to be E, which is the comments column. Yeah, and I'm going to do an and to add the my row reference to it, close the bracket and do dot select. So select that row. So now I've got cell E5 or 6, whatever it is, selected, and then I simply say selection dot entire row dot hidden, hidden equals false. Hit return. Yeah. Let's get rid of these spaces here. So if that tick box is true, then fundamentally I'm going to assign the value of the current row plus 1, which is going to be the value of the next row that I want to make visible. I'm then going to select the comment cell in the next row and unhide that column. Yeah. Now, if this statement here is not true, and obviously if this is not true, it won't do anything. And if both these statements, or if it's not column 4 and it's not less than 93, then it won't do this. So I need something to say, right, if it's row 93, then all I want it to do is just select the same row comments cell. Yeah. So the way I'm going to do that is doing else if target dot column equals 4 and target dot row equals 93, and let's add another and there and do and if the target dot value equals true, then all I'm going to do is do in fact, let's just copy this, control copy, and control V. And I'm going to take this one here and do control copy, and let's just put that in front of this, do control V, but get rid of the +1 because I just want the current row. Yeah. All that works is then all I'm going to do then is once it's done all that is I'm just going to take this, I'm just going to copy this, application screen updating, do control copy, paste it there and just change that to a true. Yeah. So if I then go to Excel, in fact, let's just, always good to just do a quick debug and compile, make sure there's no obvious errors, and that looks fine. Go back to Excel. So if I now tick that, you can see it's now revealing the next row. And if I type something in here, test 1 2 3, it doesn't do anything, but if I tick, that's fine. So let's go all the way down to the bottom and test that this works. So I've now got all the way down to the bottom. Everything seems to be working. So I'm on 89, so I do that. 89, if I do 90, it's fine. It doesn't try and reveal another row or anything like that, it just selects the same row. So that works fine. Now, what do we do when we want to redo or reset and we want to refresh everything? We don't want people having to rehide and untick all these things, and we don't want people having to press F9 all the time. So we're going to write some code to reset the numbers, rehide everything to restart the game and refresh the numbers. So again, I'm going to go into right click, view code, and what we need now is we need a module in here. So we need a module to do the reset. And the thing is if I do the reset and change that, it's going to try and rerun this code. So I need to put something in place to ensure that this doesn't it doesn't, when I'm resetting, doesn't trigger this, yeah, if that makes sense. So first of all, I'm going to, on here in Visual Basic, I'm going to insert a module. And this module here, down in the properties, I'm going to call it M small c bingo, like so, and hit return. And I've renamed it. And the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to write a public variable. I'm going to declare one. So I'm going to do public, which means this is accessible from any procedure, not just within the procedure. And I'm going to call it my reset as a boolean, or a true or a false, and it will default to a false each time. Yeah. And then I'm going to write a sub procedure called reset underscore calculate and hit return within this module. And what this is going to do is I want to check a few things here. So the first thing I'm going to do is before I write this procedure is, now that I've declared that public variable here, is I'm going to add another if statement into here. Yeah. So what I want to do is I want to say before I do anything here is I'm going to say if my reset equals false, then do this check. Yeah. Yeah. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tab that to the right, and then I'm going to do a return and do end if. So I'll only run this now when we're doing a change if it equals false. Yeah. So so that's first. If I then go back to my module here, and first of all I need to check whether the user actually wants to reset stuff. So I want to capture a response from the user. So I am going to dim and declare another variable called my answer. So I'm going to do dim my answer, like so. And then I'm going to ask a question. And I'm going to go my answer equals. Now, message boxes, you can use them for prompts, but you can also use them to return a response as well. But you need to put them in brackets like so. So if I go message box and then do an open bracket, and again I'm going to give it a title, as in I'm going to give it a question. So I'm going to do open quotation marks, are you sure you want to create new tickets, and start again and do a question mark there, and then I'm going to close the quotation marks. So that's the question. I'm going, are you sure you want to create new tickets and start again? And I'm going to do comma. I'm then going to do VB exclamation mark, E for exclamation mark, and then I'm going to do a plus, because you can add these, you can add different responses together. So I'm going to do a plus, and then I'm going to say VB yes, no, and I'm going to add that. So it's going to be an exclamation mark style, and it's going to ask him the question, and the response is going to be yes or no. I'm then going to do comma, and then I'm just going to put the title, which is going to be play. Oh, case P, play bingo, and close the quotation marks and close the bracket. Now, as far as what I do with that is, once we've captured that, is I'm going to say if my answer equals VB yes, then I'm going to do something. Yeah, and let me just do end if. A few spaces there. So again, I'm going to do application screen updating. So and also what I'm going to do here is say my reset equals true, because we're doing a reset. So I'm setting the value of my reset to true. I'm then going to switch off the screen updating. So I'm going to do application screen updating equals false. Now, what I want to do here is on my range. So if I go to Excel here, is on from D4 to D93 all the way to the bottom, is I want to set all these tick boxes to false. And then from E4 all the way down to E93, I want to get rid of any comments. So I want to clear the contents. So the way that I'm going to do that, so I go back to my code. So right click view code, is in here under the module, is I want to do sheets. So it's called bingo call. Yeah, so in quotation marks, double quotation marks, bingo call, close those quotation marks and close the bracket. I then do a full stop, and I do range D4 colon to D93, close the quotation marks, that's my range, close the bracket, and then do dot value equals false. Hit return. I'll go back to Excel. I'm going to switch all those off. Now, let's just go back to my code here. The next thing I want to do is in the comments, which is E4 to E93. Again, I'm just going to take this, Control copy, Control V. I'm just going to make that an E. I'm lazy, I don't like retyping stuff. And then I'm going to do dot clear contents and hit return. Okay, so let's just test that. Yeah, so if I just go to here, and we got all these here, so basically if I run it, this should be cleared, and this should be test 1 2 3. It will trigger the change procedure, but it should just not do it because it's set to I've set it to true. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is in here, I'm just going to press the function 8 key within this code. And it's giving me an error. And the reason being is I've mistyped. It should be sheets, not sheet. So if I do sheets, right, and now I do carry on with the F8, that's fine. It's asking me the question. I'm going to go, let's do no, see what happens. And nothing's happened. Yeah, nothing's happened. However, if I do it again, do F8 and do yes, and I do F8, it's saying, oh, my reset will become true, screen update will become false, and obviously it's kicking this in. If, obviously because I set it to true, it's just ignoring it, and again, ignored it, bosh. And if I go back to here, you can see that this has all been cleared. Brilliant. So that works. Now, before I do anything else, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this and this and do control down, do control 1. I'm going to go to the protection. Because the default is locked, I'm just going to untick that lock there, because we want to be able to interact with these. We want the user, because you will eventually protect this sheet. So the only thing that they can change is the tick boxes and write comments. Yeah. So let's go back to the code. So that works. So the next thing we want to do then is we want to recalculate the bingo tickets in a sequence. So we want to bingo strip the calc in sequence. So with that manual calculate switched on, is we can calculate the whole spreadsheet if we want. We can calculate only certain tabs in a certain order, or we can calculate a range of cells or a single cell. We can do that through Visual Basic. Yeah. So, and what we're going to do here is I want, so first thing is I'm going to go sheets. Remember to spell it correctly, like I missed the S off last time. And I'm going to do sheets, and I'm going to go, I want to recalculate the ticket numbers first. Yeah. So, and that's where it generates all the random patterns, etc. as well. So I'm going to go ticket numbers. So I'm going to go double quotation marks, ticket numbers, close those quotation marks, which is this one here, close that bracket, and then I'm just going to do dot calculate, and it will calculate that sheet and that sheet only at that point in time. I'm then going to do sheets, open bracket, double quotation marks again, and I'm going to go to my bingo tickets. Yeah, close those quotation marks, close the bracket, and do calculate. I've now calculated the ticket numbers. I've refreshed my tickets as well, that we can print off. And then finally, I want to recalculate the bingo call as well. So I'm going to do sheets, and I'm going to do bingo call dot calculate. Yeah. And then, so we've now recalculated my bingo tickets, the bingo tickets, and the bingo call. Yeah. And now that I've done that, I then need to hide these rows. So let's just test this first. So let's just do this. If we go to here at the moment and we've got 7428 there. If we look at our bingo tickets, we've got a 739 and so on there. So let's just try doing our calculator here. So if I go to here and I do function 8, so I'm going to go, yep. So it's going to again ignore that. It's going to ignore that. It's going to sheet ticket numbers. It's going to calculate bingo tickets. It's going to calculate bingo call. It's going to recalculate, and there you go. So if we go back to here now, you can see these numbers have now changed, and these numbers have all changed as well. Brilliant. Right. So that works. So the next thing we want to do then is we want all these rows now to be re-hidden from row 5 onwards. So again, go back to my code. So we now want to re-hide bingo call numbers for new game. Yeah. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to do sheets bingo call in quotation marks. I'm going to do rows, and in quotation marks I'm going to do 5 colon to 93, and then close those quotation marks, close the bracket and do dot select. I'm going to hit return. Yeah. And then what I'm going to do there then is, once I've done that, is I'm then going to do the selection dot entire row. Yeah, entire row dot hidden equals true. And that then hides all the rows. I'm then going to do application dot screen updating equals true. And I'm going to do a prompt, a message box, just to let them know that it's ready to go. Let's play bingo. So I'm going to do a message box. Because I'm not returning a response, I don't need to put brackets. So I'm going to do quotation marks. Let's play bingo. Close that quotation marks. I'm going to do comma VBI for information. Do OK. And again, I'm going to give this a name. So this is Ivan's Bingo, dedicated to Ivan. Nick's dad, Ivan's Bingo. Let's give it a title there. Yeah, and hit return. Now, what if they say no here? Oh, and the other thing is, let's not forget, my reset now equals false. Yeah. So I've reset the reset. So excuse the pun. So if they say no, though, I'm going to do else. And I'll just do another message box. Just to say it's been cancelled. And just do OK, action, cancelled, full stop. And again, do VB information and just give it the same title, Ivan's bingo. Yeah, and do, and again, if they've done, I don't need to reset the my reset because he won't have done that there. Yeah, and then again, I'm just going to take these here. Nice, neat and tidy and compact code. And there we go. Again, do debug, make sure I'm not typed something wrong, do compile, that looks fine. So if I then go to here, I need a button here to do that, because obviously I don't want to go macros and run macros. So I'm going to go into here, insert. I'm going to take a shape. Let's take this square with the rounded corners. Draw it. And let's do play bingo. Let's go with that one. As far as the effects on the shape, well, let's make it got that selected. Let's do 20. That bold. Let's make it center and center. Let's make that a little bit smaller. The shape format, shape effects. Let's have a preset of that. And then right click on it. Well, first of all, I'm going to select it and do Control-1. And here on the line and on the properties, I'm going to say do not move or size with cells, and it's locked, so they can't move it around. Yeah. And then close that. And then I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to assign a macro, and I'm going to choose this workbook. There's the reset calculate macro we wrote. I'm going to click OK. So now if I can click this. It asks me the question, are you sure you want to create new tickets and start again? I'm going to say no. And it goes OK. Action cancelled. And I'm going to click OK. If I want to reset, so we've got 8679 there. If I do play and do yes, let's play bingo. It's done. And it's hidden everything. Can I go over here? I've got my new tickets here ready to play. Now, as I said, as a default, everything is protected. So to make this cleaner for our users, is first thing I'm going to do is the only things that we need visible now is the bingo tickets and the bingo call. Yeah. So if I now just right click and I'm going to hide that tab, I'm going to right click that and do hide. I'm going to right click and I'm going to do hide there. But I want to make sure that people don't destroy the template that we've done here. So we're going to protect this stuff. So if I do here review and we do protect, because we want people to be able to select stuff and so on. But those are the defaults. But I want it to do it when you open up the actual I want it to do it when we actually open up the bingo app, don't I? We don't want it to so the way that we're going to do that is we are going to set up some protection. So to stop our users from changing this stuff, I'm going to right click again and do view code. And I'm going to double click on this workbook here. And this time I'm going to do the drop down. So instead of general, I'm going to do the drop down and do workbook. It's defaulted to open, and I want it to do this when it opens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do dim my sheet as worksheet. Yeah. Return. Let's make that an uppercase. S. Oh. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all my sheets and do I'm going to do a for next loop here. So I'm going to do for each my sheet in worksheets. Yeah. I'm going to do my sheet dot protect. Now, and then I'm going to do next my sheet. So if I then do this and do F8, just play it. So when it opens, right, if I now go to here, can't do anything in here. I can't. Yeah, so it's protected. Again, here I can't do anything. Yeah, so if I tick this here, let's see what happens. I get an error. And the reason why I'm getting an error is because I can't unhide stuff. So I need Excel to protect it from the user interface changes. However, I want the Visual Basic to run in the background unimpeded. And the way that we do that is we make a small addition to this protect here. So if I do user interface only colon equals true and hit return, is when I do the protect. So if I now do F8 and play it, and I go into here, and now if I do it, it's fine. Everything works. I can reset it and do yes. And I think the thing about writing code is don't get too worried about it. I mean, typically, if you can learn to do if statements and you can learn to do if then and else, you can do for next loops, and you understand the concepts of ranges, then all you've got to do really then is you can record a macro. So for example, we want to protect the workbook structure as well. So I could just go onto my view ribbon, do here and do record macro. I'm going to leave the macro 1 default there and do OK. And if I then go right, I go to my review and I select protect workbook. I don't want a password, it's just a structure, and do OK. I can then here at the bottom, you see that square icon, I can click that and I've now stopped the macro from recording. If I then go to view code and look at module 1, you can see that it's written some code for us. Well, actually, I want it to do that when I open the workbook. So if I then select that, and do control copy, go into this workbook, is I can just add that as in fact, let's do the protection and then protect the structure as well. Yeah. Again, let's just put that in there like so. Make this tidy. Do the debug. That's fine. This module I don't need anymore, so I'm going to right click on it and do remove module 1. And it's asking me, do I want to export it to create a copy? I could if I wanted to, but I'm going to go no, and it's gone. Yeah. And then I'm going to close that down and I'm going to do save. And now we have a functioning VB here. I can't change the name of this stuff. I can't unhide stuff, so everything's protected. It's not password protected, and I've said in previous videos it's a waste of time password protecting through the protection, the unprotected protection, right? Because you can get apps that you can buy that are legal that will actually remove those passwords. So when encrypting Excel files, there's other ways of doing it, and again, so I wouldn't use the encryption if you've got some really confidential stuff in your spreadsheet. Don't do it. So anyway, all we're doing is putting protection to stop people accidentally erasing all your hard work on this fantastic game, which is all dedicated to Ivan's Bingo. So we've now got the ability where I can print preview this. I've got Ivan's Bingo, how to, I've got my tickets, I can print them off. I can do my bingo calls, I can write my, the first line. Nick, Ivan's son. Yeah. And then we can keep on playing until somebody gets the second line and a full house. And then when you're ready to go, you can go again, do play bingo, start the whole thing off again with new numbers and a new order of numbers. So, I hope you found this entertaining on how to create your own bingo game in Excel. And please give it a go. And if you don't want to, but you want to play the game, then there is a link to Patreon file, which has got 8 generated ticket strips, and that also helps to support the channel. And also, if you have any ideas for any other challenges that you want me to do in Excel, then please let me know in the comments. And I would ask you to please like, subscribe, and smash that notification button for future content. As always, I wish you an absolutely wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Please take care, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video from Change, Tips and Tools. Play bingo!